What's up out there? This is probably a series I should have done a very long time ago, but we are going to do it now, and that is going through every single skill in the game. We're going to do a video for each one, and I just want to have a discussion about it. Now, this is not going to be anything formal. I've got a few notes here and everything, but this is not like reading off the wiki or anything like that. If you go to the wiki page, there's not a whole lot about attack, quite honestly. But I wanted to start breaking these skills down and just putting in my 2 cents on them. Now, I am not a min-maxer, and I am not necessarily the most spreadsheet-oriented person to where I've got everything down to an exact science. This is just how I play and what I do and my thoughts on things. So if anybody has any differing opinions or a better idea, check the comment section below or leave a comment as you see fit. So anyway, let's dive in. In the very most basic form, your melee combat skill is broken up into 3 skills. Your melee combat attack style is broken up into 3 skills. You've got attack, strength, and defense. Now, attack is how much accuracy you get. So the higher the level of attack you have, the more accuracy you're going to get. The higher the level of strength, the more damage you're going to do, and the bigger the hit. And the more defense is basically the opposite of attack, so that you're negating the enemy's ability to hit you. Now, defense isn't too important. We'll get into that one later. I mean, defense is definitely important. You want to get the levels for equipping gear and things like that. But in the grand scheme of things, your attack and strength are going to be the 2 things that really define how much of a melee hit you can do. And the reason that is important is because the harder you hit and the more damage you do, the more XP you get. So if you level up your strength fairly high and don't level the other ones, you may do a powerful hit, but you're not hitting very often. If you can only hit 30% of the time, it doesn't matter how big a hit you can do, you're only dealing damage 30% of the time. So you want to bring up your attack skill. And typically, the advice that's typically given here is that you will do strength first, then you'll do attack, and then you'll do defense. And you really want all 3 at the same time, because your attack and strength are what the level of attack and strength determines what weapons you can equip. The level of defense determines what kind of armor you can equip. So if you want gloves or boots or helmets or anything like that, you have to worry about defense. But if you want, say, a scimitar or an axe, you have to worry about strength. And if you want swords and stuff like that, daggers, you're going to have to worry about the attack style. So they really all 3 play together. But we're going to focus on attack today, which is where you get your accuracy. So let's start talking about weapons. So let's start the weapon conversation off with daggers. Now, daggers are the most basic weapon in the game. They are the fastest weapon in the game, and they are the lightest hitting weapon in the game. They do have their uses sometimes, but I typically never use one. There are scenarios, depending on, say, hardcore combat only or a speed run or something like that. There are times when you might find one more useful than other weapons because of their attack speed, or because of, like, the dark steel dagger does bleed damage and stuff like that. There are times that you might find one that is useful. But most of the time, daggers are useless. So let's take a look at some, and I'll show you why I don't really feel that they're very useful. If we look at this dagger here, you will see that it has a stab, a slash, and a block bonus. So in the melee combat style, this is unfortunate wording down here. This should probably say melee combat style instead of attack style, because it implies that you're using the attack skill, and you're not. You're using attack for stab, strength for slash, and defense for block. So depending on which button you have selected is what mode that is going to be. And if you look at your item, you'll see a stab, slash, and a block. So in this particular item, this dagger is got a +7 for stab, a +7 for block, but only a +2 for slash. So it's not really a good weapon to work for with strength, or to use for strength. It is decent for stab and block. However, if we come over here and look at a bronze sword and compare the stats to it, the bronze sword is slightly slower, but it does more damage and has a bigger strength bonus. So in pretty much every case, you're going to find that the sword is mightier than the dagger. So I typically use a sword. Now, there are times when you might have, say, in smithing, let's say you're working through smithing, you're leveling up, and you get up to, say, adamant gear. So you can craft an adamant dagger. You can't craft anything else from adamant yet. You can either go with, say, a mithril sword or any of this other mithril gear or an adamant dagger. Would the dagger be better? If we go to the stats on the adamant dagger and look at it, it's a stab bonus of 22, slash of 8, block bonus of 22. So let's equip this thing up here. If I go back to this mithril dagger, this is obviously going to be worse because it's the same thing but one level lower. If I look at the sword, which should be equal or better, this is actually worse. It's got a little better strength bonus, but it's got a worse stab and it's slower and it's got a worse block and everything. If I go over here to, well, we'll just look at the rest of these. These are all going to be far worse because these are not, the scimitar and the battle axe are not made for stabbing. They're made for slashing or blocking, depending on the case. Two-handed swords are pretty much useless. So they have a huge block on it and they're slow. But my point here is that you can actually equip an adamant dagger depending on your circumstance, depending on what you've got leveled up, what's available, or what you've found in the game. If you're playing hardcore combat only or something like that, if you find an adamant dagger, it might actually be better than the sword you have. Now that said, the sword, if it's a slightly worse sword, you will still get a little more strength bonus. So is it better or worse in the long run? Don't know. I know the situation exists. I would probably still use the sword, to be honest with you. But the potential is there. So there are a variety of different daggers. If we go in here and search by daggers, you will see that we have bronze, iron, steel. The black dagger comes from the Black Knights. The rest of this is all stuff that you could smith. These here. There are some, and it's not showing up on here. Oh, I had to click on the right button. Forgot which tab I was on because these daggers are in this tab. These daggers are over in this tab. So these actually, this comes from the, this is a dungeon. I think it's the Frozen Cove. Yeah, Frozen Cove dumps a bunch of that stuff out. So this weapon comes from the Frozen Cove. There is potential that it might be okay depending on where you get to with it. And when you get into that dungeon, this might be useful. You may have far surpassed this weapon. So like I said, I don't really ever use daggers. The poison dagger is kind of cool. This thing can actually apply poison. And depending on your setup, you get a poison ring, you get some other poison setup. We've got a lot of poison cloaks and capes and everything. There's a lot of poison out there. This might be viable at some point as a melee style, is to go and poison stuff. I've really not ever found it to be terribly useful. Same thing with the dark steel dagger with bleeding. There have been a couple of times with hardcore combat only or speed runs that we've done. I think there was a hardcore combat only speed run we did, and I think I actually tried both of these on that speed run, and they were not very stellar because they just do so much less damage than the sword counterpart. And by the time you get up level 80 to be able to equip this, you've far surpassed with all the different, this is level 60. You've got a lot better weapons at your disposal at that point. So I believe that covers all of the daggers. There is this new one over here, this sacrificial dagger. This thing has +1 melee strength bonus based on your current hit point level, and even maxed out, this is not as good as the adamant dagger. Like, the stats are worse. +1 melee strength bonus based on your current hit point level. So I'm up at 132 or 120, probably 120, because I think that's over leveled. So I'm up at 120, and this thing is still worse. So even though it's in the new expansion, it's not that good. So anyway, that is what we have for daggers. Moving on to swords. Now, a quick disclaimer right out of the gate. Let's go ahead and equip this bronze dagger. The two-handed swords in every case are worse. They all have a huge negative bonus to stab. They're terrible for the stab style, so they do not play into your attack at all. In fact, I don't believe we can search for any of these two-handed swords that are better. Even if we go to the divine one, it's still got a negative stab bonus. Like, it penalizes you for using it. The cursed one, same thing, negative. We have the familiar two-handed sword. Now, this one is the one exception. This actually has a huge stab bonus with a huge strength bonus. And this just came in with the Atlas of Discovery expansion. It is only level 40. I don't remember where I got this from, but this one actually might be useful. It's got minus 30% max hit though, but a plus 60% summoning max hit and familiar damage as added a barrier. So this one actually might be a good option. This one actually might be a good option, but this is like the only two-handed sword that does that. The rest of these are all basically garbage. So the hammer won't apply. These crystal spears, the spears in the game are a different story as well. Although these are two-handed, this one does offer some damage reduction. Typically, your two-handed weapons don't offer any damage reduction at all, so I just avoid them like the plague. There was one scenario where I actually needed to use a two-handed weapon, but that was a very niche case in a speedrun mode, and it was like I said, very niche. So then you've got like this hasty trident. It's got 8% damage reduction. It's a level 90 weapon. This is a tier 90 weapon. Or T90 weapon, whatever you want to call this thing. This is high level. By the time you're putting this on, and it's got 100% max hit, like this is doing some serious damage and everything over here. But is this thing going to be the best option? It's very slow. And you're going to be equipping the, let's see, at level 90, you're going to be up at the title edge. Although the title edge is kind of hard to get at certain points. But this is a single-handed weapon with a lot of damage, and you can equip a shield for a lot of damage reduction. So is that trident going to be very good? I don't know. It's just came in with Atlas of Discovery, so we have yet to find out. We'll get into that at some point. I'm doing that relic mode run right now, and I'll be trying out some different weapons just because. But typically, I avoid a lot of that stuff because whatever I can smith up, I can just equip and go with. Or there are certain landmarks that you would, or certain landmark might not be the word for it, but there's certain points that you're going to shoot for. So an example of that would be like the Dragon Claw and the Ancient Claw, and then you combine those to be the Infernal Claw. These, as soon as you get these pretty much supersede everything you've got. And that really boils down to getting through the Volcanic Cave and the Infernal Stronghold to get those equipped and everything. And once you've got that, you're good to go. And then you get down past, let's see, all the God dungeons. I think you have to be through Into the Mist, and then you can go into here and start fighting these guys for the title edge. So that's level 90. You can get the Dragon Claw on at level 60. I can't remember which one the Ancient Claw is, but the Infernal Claw is level 75. So, I mean, you're basically, once you hit level 60 or so, you're going to be looking at claws. And these do have the same bonus for all of stab, slash, and block. So they work for any melee combat style, they're fine with. Same thing with the Infernal Claw. These are all fine. They all have the same bonus. It's a slightly better on slash, but I've used these for attack. What I do in this case, if it's like this one's slightly better for the slash bonus, I would see which one has the more accuracy. If I was to say equip this claw and my accuracy rating is 34,942. If I select over to here, it's 34,963. So slightly a little bit better in the accuracy on the slash side. So I may go with slash on this. But the cool thing is, depending on which combat style you're working, or which melee combat skill you're working on, this will actually work on all three. You'll get the best bonus for slash, but you're not taking a massive hit for working on the stab style. So if your your strength is maxed out or something like that, you can actually switch over to attack. And I'll do that with some of these weapons here because they're easy to switch over, and it's not that big a deal. Let's see here. And we kind of got into claws and stuff like that. I probably should have put this in another section, but there are other options for the sword. If we go over into my general gear here, you're going to have a bronze sword, or it's basically like a long sword. So you've got adamant, the different kinds in here. If you go into this section here, you'll find out, well, this is the way I've got it organized. You've got like the Sunset Rapier. This thing is good. This one comes out of the Deep Sea Ship. This comes out of here. This is actually a really solid weapon to get very early on. Not necessarily like extremely early in the game, But, and as far as an early dungeon goes, this is going to be a really good melee weapon for a very long time. It's better than the Dragon Sword, I believe. The Ancient Sword is there, but it's very hard to get. The Ancient Sword takes a long time to drop. So if you look at this thing, it's got a stab bonus of, well, let's just go ahead and equip this, the Sunset Rapier here, and then we'll compare it to, I'm sorry, I didn't want to double click, I wanted to single click. So this actually does the same stab bonus, but it's got a little more strength bonus and a little bit of defense on it. It is a little bit slower, and it's got this life leech. However, the Ancient Sword has a horribly low drop rate. It's a level 70 weapon. They're both level 70, so there's not really a difference there. Let's see here. We've talked about the claws. The Warbird, where do I have that? We've got these spears like the Ellerin Spear. Again, two-handed weapon, no damage reduction. I'm not a fan. Warbird, two-handed weapon, no damage reduction, not a fan. It's got stab bonus and stuff. So, I mean, if you were to come across this and it was better than what you had, you didn't need the shield, it's definitely not a problem to equip and use, but it's not something you're going to use long-term. Let's see here. We've got... Nope. We've got the Twin Exiles, this thing here. This is another weapon. This is actually a two-handed... Well, it's two single-handed weapons. It's basically dual wield. Level 70. It's okay, but you lose your shield. You have no damage reduction. It's super fast. Actually, this is pretty much on par with Daggers at this point. But the problem is, it's not that great of a weapon. Like, the effort you have to go to get this, you'll have something much better that does more damage. You'll be higher level, and it's just not that great. I've tried these a few times. I can't remember where. There used to be, what was that? Killing off Golbins or something like that for the golden Golbin pet. Maybe that was what it was for. It was believed that these were very quick and you could get through your combat fast with them. I tried them. I didn't really like them. We've picked up these crystal twin blades. I assume these are kind of about the same. This is only a level 20 weapon. I mean, again, this has got a little bit of damage reduction. Early on, this probably wouldn't be too bad to use, but you're going to have much better options. So, like if I was to equip this and then switch over to just regular swords over here, let's see, the iron sword is worse, but the steel sword is still worse. If we go over to the black sword, that is still worse. So you're pretty much on par with the mithril sword, which is level 20. So the same level, that is a little bit, the crystal weapons are a little faster. They do offer some damage reduction, but you're going to lose your shield. And by this point, let's say you're doing a mithril shield. I don't have one upgraded, do I? We've got the rune one, which is slightly higher. You're going to get 5% damage reduction if you can do rune at level, well, that's level 40. Here's one. Mithril at level 20 gives you 3% damage reduction. So that might be good. Like that was 3%. Yeah, it's same damage reduction, same level. So this might not be a bad option, but I don't know. It's still, I'm kind of more traditional sword and board. That's just kind of how it goes. Damage reduction is very useful in this game, extremely useful. And I might stress that a little bit too much, but I take that in favor over stuff like this. This seems a bit gimmicky, although this does crystallization, and that might be worth the effort you put into it. But you're going to exceed this weapon very quickly. You'll find if you go into like smithing here, and if you look at your levels, you're into bronze gear basically at level 1, and you're off into, wow, that's not the best way to do that. I'm sorry, that's not the best way to show what I'm trying to show. Your bronze gear starts at level 1. Your iron gear, I believe, is level 1. Your steel gear is 5. The black gear is 10. The mithril is 20. So this is comparable to that twin crystal thing we were looking at. Adamant gear is going to quickly get out of the way. Level 30, that's better. This is already better at level 30. So just 10 levels up, and you can level from 1 to 50 fairly quickly. So you're going to just be changing weapons out a lot. So I don't really value, especially like the two-handed stuff. Like I said, that crystal weapon might be good, but you're already outpacing it like 10 levels later. Adamant sword's way better. It's a little bit slower, no damage reduction, but you can equip a shield with much better damage reduction or equal to or better. You know what I mean? Like level 30 adamant gear, you're already looking at an adamant shield just 10 levels higher that gives 1% damage reduction more than what you've got, which 1% ain't a whole lot, but 1% is 1% closer to the next dungeon that you're trying to get to. So like I said, I don't really value two-handed weapons all that much. There are uses for them. There was a use for the one particular god sword. I think it was the Terran god sword. The reason behind this is crushing blow is unavoidable, and it got me through a speed run. But this also has a terrible stab bonus, so in the context of the conversation we're having here, it doesn't pertain. We do have a new claw, which is at level 40. I should have probably tried to use this, but once again, if you're in that, say, level 1 through 60, somewhere in there, you're going to be changing weapons fast. And especially if you have smithing options where you can just smith up the next weapon once you get that next 10 levels in, you're going to skip over a lot of this stuff because you're going to either have to go to a dungeon to get it or go out of your way to find it. I don't remember how we got this rune claw. This is in the Atlas of Discovery expansion, so it came from somewhere in cartography, archaeology, or the new combat areas, which are barrier combat stuff or stuff with the barrier. So it's kind of a niche thing off to the side that you're probably going to run over and just be blown past anyway. Once you get into, well, once you've gotten through up to level 90, then you can start going for the Tidal Edge. That gets you into the Throne of the Herald expansion. Tidal Edge from 90 on up is the way to go. Now, once you get into the Throne of the Herald expansion, you're going to be starting to replace this weapon with stuff like the, where do we start here? The Corundum Sword. This is actually better. Well, it's a little worse, I should say. Gotta get correct on this. The Augite Sword, which is 105, is better than the Tidal Edge. So you're going to grind up to get that Tidal Edge, use it for 10 level or 10 or 15 levels, and it's gone and out the door again. And you're up on the grind. The Corundum Sword is level 100. The Augite is 105. Then you just move on up to Divine at, what is this? 110. So you're quickly just getting rid of all these other weapons, and the grind keeps going. Now, to be fair, though, to get into the Throne of the Herald, you have to beat Impending Darkness. So once you're through that, you're going to start blasting through weapons again. And then as you go through the Throne of the Herald, you're going to get access to a lot better gear. As you go through the Lightning Place gives you the Lightning Strike one-handed sword. Once you get that, that's level 110, but also takes 110 magic. And it's got a great stab bonus. Then we get the Frost Spark, which is 160. And, you know, this is same thing. Attack and magic level 110. And those things combine off into, where is that at? These combine, I think these combine into something. Or no, that's the Spectral Ice Sword. This combines up into the Frost Spark. Got to remember which one goes to where. So yeah, this combines up into that. And then eventually you'll be able to farm out the Agile Wings Rapier, which is basically the best one-handed weapon in the entire game. This is the primo weapon you're going to get. That's the be-all, end-all, which comes from, where is that? The Slayer is way down here. I think that might be, I think that's this. Nope, that's the armor side. It's this. That drops the Agile Wings that become that rapier. So that's basically kind of your progression, is pretty much running through smithing gear that you're going to get here, because you can always get something better through smithing. And then the stuff that you get from like dungeons and stuff like that is usually on par with the same stuff you're going to get out of smithing. So depending on game mode, if you're in hardcore combat only, you might be able to find something better than what you can, obviously better than what you can craft because you're playing hardcore combat only. But like Ancient Relic mode, I'm kind of stuck with my smithing level. I can't raise up terribly high where I'm at. So I would be dependent on finding things and trying to look at dungeons and stuff like that. And I may want to spend a little more time thinking about what I've got and looking at, what's available. But generally, you would follow the different gear that you get in the that you can create in smithing, because these are pretty much what I would call the standard separation points or whatever. You know what I mean? Because like you can look at adamant gear, you can go to the adamant sword, you can click on this, view item stats, it's going to say level 30. So then rune gear is going to be level 40, and then dragon I think is level 60. And then Corundum's way up there. There is a weapon between Dragon and Corundum that you have to go farm up. But typically, you would just go through this smithing. That's like your template. That's probably the best word for it. It's template. So we've gone through all the different weapons. We looked at the Ellerin Spear, the Hasty Trident, the Royal Toxin Spear I didn't talk about, but that's another one that's available. That's this thing here. It's not a sword. I've got it in the sword section, but it's not a sword. This does give you a lot of stab bonus. It gives you some damage reduction, but it's a level 110 weapon. So at level 110, can you get something better? Probably, or something on par. Something with a little more damage reduction. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to check this out when we get there, because this is another thing that just got added. I believe this came in with the Atlas of Discovery. Or no, this might actually come from... I think that might come from... What is it? The... Lair of the Spider Queen? Yeah. So by the time you're doing the Lair of the Spider Queen, you're way into the Throne of the Herald expansion, and you're probably not going to use that for all this stuff past that. It's so far into it. The weapon would be more beneficial if you could get it some other way and easier. So, I don't know. Not necessarily a fan of that. So, let's talk about gear as far as like gloves and things like that. As I was doing research for this video, I was browsing through the different gear and trying to figure out where you would get stab bonus from. And it looks like if I go, do I have the upgraded version of any of this stuff? Not really helmets or anything on here, but like boots. So boots don't have, this is the fully upgraded version of the dragon boots. There's no stab bonus on there. None at all. But if I go to bronze gloves, there is a stab bonus. So I've always considered these gloves kind of useless, the melee gloves, because they don't have any damage reduction, but they do give you a little bit of damage bonus, a little bit of attack and strength and stuff like that. So even if you go down to, say, the Divine, the best smithed up version you can get, gives you a little bit of stab bonus. So even though they don't give you damage reduction, they do give you a little bit of defense, which is not great, a little bit of strength, which boosts your damage, and a little bit of the stab bonus, which is a little more accuracy, I believe, on what that's going to get you. Again, I would probably try to use like Paladin gloves or something that gives actual damage reduction versus these, but I did notice that the gloves do give you some, the melee gloves give you some form of accuracy. Now, I don't believe the range stuff's not going to give you any bonus at all. It shouldn't anyway. Now, let's talk about rings. So if we go over to this, we have the silver topaz ring, which is right off the bat. This gives you plus 12 melee stab bonus. So you're going to get plus 12 on that. If you can get one of these and equip it, it's good to have, I suppose. But generally in combat, I'm going to be looking at either running the gold emerald ring, which gives you 4% combat XP, or I'm going to be looking at the gold topaz, which gives you it gives you 15% gold from monsters, which I really don't care about because it's usually not that much. But if equipped, something special might drop while training skills. Now, this is what gets you the, which one is that? Do I have one equipped handily here? On one of these, that's where you start getting your signet ring. And the signet ring is very crucial to the game. So I would probably not equip anything but this for a long time. Now, if I'm trying to level something, I'd probably do the gold emerald ring. And once I get my piece for the gold topaz ring, you're going to be getting into better rings anyway that might offer damage reduction or something like that. Silver diamond ring is a really good one. Where's that at? That here, because it gives you 1% damage reduction. So this would be probably my go-to if I was fighting anything difficult. If I was just leveling, I would try to put the gold topaz on so that I could get part of the signet ring, get the combat part of the signet ring, and come out. So there are options, but this is probably what I would use. You also get the tormented ring, which is, I'm going to search for that up here. This thing gives combat rating, but it also removes your defense. Again, by the time you get to this thing and find it, you're going to have much better. So I don't really think there's a reason to equip this, especially when you're losing out on defense stats. Maybe there's an edge case that it works good, but I don't know. This is more filler. We also have, let's see, the fighter ring, which is down here. This gives you some bonuses. This is always useful because it does provide a little bit of bonus there with no negatives to having it. But again, you might have something that's a little better that gives damage reduction or something that you need instead of that. And then this thing actually upgrades into this Relentless Fury ring, which is really good, and it offers a chance to stun when you've got it equipped with the Relentless Fury gloves. So, but when you get this, you're going to equip this and the gloves usually, so you get that combo and you get a lot of chance to stun. So again, you're kind of weighing it, and there are other rings you might want to use in depending on, like the Guardian ring, which gives you a lot of defense bonuses, or the, let's see, where is the one that I'm looking for? Total mind warp. I lost that whole thought. I don't remember what I was looking for. Oh, the Hunter's Ring for Slayer effect negation. So you're probably going to outgrow any ring you put on or be using something different than the other ones. Let's see here. As far as amulets go, you're going to have the silver topaz, which is this one right here, gives you plus 12 hidden attack level. Once again, this is kind of going to get swept away very quickly. You're going to have the amulet from the Spider Force that lets you collect a loot. I don't remember what's that called, but you're going to be equipping something else into that spot. The Fury of the Elemental Zodiacs. There's like so many other, the Amulet of Looting. That's the thing from the spider place that auto loots. You're going to probably have that equipped. So this silver topaz necklace is probably not going to get used very much. The Amulet of Accuracy. Let's see here. That is this thing here, which grows up to be the Elite Amulet of Accuracy. Another one I typically don't use unless I happen to have one and don't really have a good alternative. I might use these. But these are components of the Fury of the Elemental Zodiac, so you're just going to get that instead. So kind of not useful for that. The Amulet of Fury and the Amulet of Torture both have bonuses, no damage reduction. Again, these go into the Fury of the Elemental Zodiacs. I do use them if I don't have any alternative because they do help out a little bit, and they do help out in all the other stats, or all the other melee stats, but they're not my first go-to. And then you've got the Amulet of Calculated Promotion. This is a very good early on one. I think, if memory serves, that one falls from the Leeches in the Wet Forest. You have to rename this chest or something like that, or rename your character. There's a little trick to getting that, and then you can get that Amulet of Calculated Promotion. That amulet is good early on, if you're able to kill leeches and stuff like that. But again, it doesn't last very long and you're replacing it out fairly quickly. Now let's move on to capes. The attack skill cape, which is this one right here, gives you plus 40 melee attack bonus. You're probably never going to use this. If you're using this, that means you've not gotten any other skill cape, and you have to be level 99 to get this. So that means you've not gotten any other cape in any other capacity. There's so many other capes that I would use before this. The Obsidian cape, the Fire cape. There's just so many different ones that I would put in line ahead of this one. I would probably just never use this unless there was some really weird edge case that you needed that little bit of attack bonus to get you above something that these other ones don't do. But like the Fire cape, this got a stab bonus of 1, where this is getting a plus 40. Obviously, if you needed that slight bit of accuracy, it would work, but I would be more interested in using the Fire cape because of the damage reduction. Again, I believe damage reduction just outweighs all of the other things unless there's some really weird edge case of a speedrun mode or something. So there is an attack skill cape you can get at 99. There is also one that you can get at 120. And this one adds your 5% max hit added to minimum hit. Basically, you're only going to get these two capes for the completion. And then you can, once you've gotten all that, you can get the completion capes and stuff like that. That's really what those are for. Again, I would have something far different equipped instead of this. Then we've got the Knight's Cape, which actually, where do I have mine? Is that over here? We do have the Knight's Cape. This you can thieve up. This gives you a little bit of bonus and a little bit of damage reduction. So this is really good early on, and you can just thieve that one. I don't remember which NPC gives that. I think it's the Squire. But you have to get down to this level of whatever level that is in thieving, so that can take a while to get to. You've got the Fire Cape, the Infernal Cape. Those all give you bonuses with a lot better damage reduction. They don't give great stab bonuses. Like, I wouldn't put this on for the stab bonus. I would be putting it on for the damage reduction you get. And this is one of the best capes you get in the base game. Basically, this is the cape for the base game. It's the Infernal Cape, unless you go up and get the Cape of Completion. But at that point, you've done everything else in the base game to get that. So that takes a little while. Let's see. Then going forward, we now have the Golden Fire Cape, which is an upgraded version of the Fire Cape. That gives you a little bit of stab bonus with some damage reduction. That's Atlas of Discovery expansion. Same thing with the Ancient Infernal Cape. Same thing, stab bonus, a little bit of damage reduction. So you're going to get some bonuses there. And then we go into the Cape of Completion and the Superior Cape of Completion, which is very difficult to get. And yeah, these give you a lot of bonuses and some damage reduction and stuff like that, but you basically have to have completed the base game and then completed the Throne of the Herald to get the other one. So those are very difficult to get, but very worth it. Moving on to the pet, there is only one. I looked through all these. I didn't really see anything that did anything as far as attack, or, I mean, there might be some accuracy and stuff like that, but as far as attack goes, there's Bruce, the little shark guy, and this pet you get from just the attack style. If you equip a sword or a dagger or something like that, set it into the stab style and just let it run for a few days, you'll end up getting Bruce. It's a random chance, but Bruce gives you +3 hidden attack level, and that's the pet for attack. I suppose we should take a look at astrology real quick. The Iridan constellation has a bunch of things for attack skill XP, accuracy, hidden attack level, and max hit added to minimum hit. Although this max hit to minimum hit, I believe that counts for every combat style, and the accuracy goes for every combat style. It's just this attack skill XP and +5 hidden attack level. I don't remember if there's anything directly in agility that's for attack. Mostly it's accuracy and things like that. I don't believe there's anything where it's just like, you're going to get +20 attack skill or something like that. Normally it's all evasion or damage or accuracy or something like that. So really the only place that you're going to get a bonus for that is in astrology, which is up in this Iridan here. And then there are some other ones down in Ashtar, but these are mostly just general, faster attack interval, stuff like that. Not anything really directly associated with the attack skill itself. And that's kind of about it. You've got like melee accuracy potions, but these aren't necessarily directly towards the attack skill itself. And summoning, there are certain things you have to use attack skill to get, like the Golden Thief you can get from any melee style, and Wolf you can get from either attack or range, so you've got another alternative to it. There's not really one tied to attack exclusively. So there are options there, and that's kind of about it for the attack skill itself. So to close all of this out, the attack skill is one of basically 3 melee combat styles that you would use. You can level up defense with the ranged or magic, but I don't, because you split the XP there and it's not really worth it. You could level up ranged and magic much faster if you just use those, and then you can train defense much faster if you just train defense. But we're talking about attack here, and attack definitely you want to try to level up attack along with strength. You want to level up strength a little bit faster and prioritize that, but attack needs to come along right behind that, because the more accurate you are, the more damage you're doing, the more often you're doing damage. Not necessarily the more damage. I mean, it is more damage in the grand scheme of things, but your strength is going to determine how much you're going to hit for, and your attack is going to determine how often you hit. So the more often you hit, the more you put those big numbers up, the more you generate more XP. So you definitely do not want to sleep on the attack skill, and try to stick with swords as much as possible. There are better options once you start getting into the claws and are able to grab those, and then the title edge, and then you get into swords again once you get into the Throne of the Herald expansion, and then you're going back into some more niche weapons that you have to farm up, like the what was this thing called? What were these? The Lightning Strike one-handed sword, the Frost Spark, and the Agile Wings Rapier. Those, once you kind of get to a point at the end of the base game, you're going to settle down on one weapon for a long time, and then things open back up with Throne of the Herald, and then they close back down towards the end to very few specific weapons, and that's kind of how your attack progression works. So anyway, hopefully you found something useful in this video, and that will do it for this one. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.